Hi everyone, it's Linda from LyndaCreates, and I have a Mother's Day project. Could be for any time, but this one is for Mom, and it is a combination of gel printing on fabric, and it will have some slow stitching as well. So it's a Mother's Day mug rug with a lot of different techniques in here, and let me show you how I'm going to make this. So before I start laying out the project, I want to share how I did these jelly prints. So take a look. To start off this story, I have to say, I had received this large lace tablecloth, but it is machine made. There's nothing sentimental about it except that it's pretty. So I wanted to do something to make that useful. And the pattern is so pretty that I needed something to use it for. So I've been wanting to do some jelly plate printing. Well, first off, I have a large, strange collection of acrylic paints. I also have some newer Liquitex. It's real basic. Next thing, the golden GAC 900. It's a heat set fabric painting medium. It's so that fabric, you could use acrylic paints on fabric, and once it's dried and heat set, you can wash it. I'm not planning on washing this. It says it makes it a softer hand. The thing is about acrylic paint, if you even look at the name acrylic, it's plastic. It's basically pigment suspended in a liquid plastic. So plastic gets hard. So when you use this golden GAC 900 or fabric medium paint, it keeps a softer feel, so you don't have a layer of hard plastic acrylic to work with. I have a couple of brayers. I have a palette knife, plastic one, for using with my gel plate. I've already pre-cut and pre-ironed. Not well, but I pre-ironed. It's also a muslin. It's a little bit nicer quality muslin that I'm actually going to do the printing on. And I cut it down to 7 by 9. It's a little bit larger than my gel plate. Over the years, I've done some messy crafting, and I found the best table cover. It's plastic, but it is from a vintage Twister game. It's a wonderful thick plastic to cover your table. Copyright 1966. So if ever you find an old Twister game, garage sale, thrift store, whatever, this plastic is great for protecting surfaces from paints and inks and everything. It's great. So anyway, I'm going to start doing some pulls. I have my gloves on. Just another thing too is this golden GAC 900. It contains formaldehyde. It says use it in a well ventilated area and wear gloves. Okay, let me go ahead and get started. So this is a piece that I cut out. So I'm getting ready now to start the jelly press. I have a piece of scrap fabric over here to catch any extras from the roller. Okay, so I have some colors. So let's start off with the pink and tan palette. Okay, so I have a little cup. I want to add, it says to add about equal amounts. Interesting. It does thin it down. So I know it doesn't take a lot. we go. Piece of paper. Need to get in. This might be good for the little roller. Okay, lift this off. Okay, so we have the lace. Look at that. Let me go clean this up, and I'm going to start with the next color. Okay, so I'm using some Liquitex brown, burnt umber, some Deco Art metallic champagne gold, and white, a little bit of white. I'm trying to get it, kind of looks like very light chocolate. It's very, very light. And then I added the GAC 900 as well. Oh, so there it is. It is sort of a tan color. Oh, that's nice. With a little touch of pink. Very subtle. I noticed this before, but I didn't realize why. See how there's not a lot of contrast between the lace and the background? And this is my very first pull with the pink. Lots of contrast. See the difference? It's because I'm using the same area of the lace. Duh. Okay, so I'm gonna, and I have so much of it, you would think I just keep cutting new pieces. Okay, let me cut some new pieces and pull a brown one again, or a tan one. I think the lesson I learned here was I need to do a fresh piece of lace on each pull, which is okay because I have so much of it, but it's just if you don't have a lot of lace that you're pulling through, you might be a little limited. Okay. Ah, much better. Okay. So that's the secret. Make sure you use a new piece of lace on each piece that you pull, which is kind of cool because you'll have a totally different look on each one. Okay, I mixed up like an aqua color. I used the Deco Art Sea Breeze to start. Added a touch of Deco Art Turquoise Blue. And I think I'm going to try adding a little bit of metallic teal. Oops. Yeah. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, I like that color. Oh, I like that color. Okay, start with that. And okay. Ooh. Don't know if you could see it on camera, but it's very pretty. Look at that. Love, love, love the color. It's very subtle, but it'll be, what a beautiful print. It does, okay, another lesson I learned, besides changing out your lace each time is also I washed off the gel press, so it made it for a real clean pull. So good to know. Just trying something different. That is really cool effect right there. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Okay, so definitely cleaning the gel press off between pulls, using a new piece of lace just makes it much more perfect. So, oh, that's pretty. Okay, and this is the last piece of lace I'm going to use. But I did discover you can use the back side. Once it's dry, it works really well. So each piece you could at least, if you could let it dry in between, you could at least use it twice. Ooh. Isn't that cool? And again, with the GAC 900, it should stay flexible enough to stitch through. So now that you've seen how I made these, let me share with you the results of the prints after they dried. And they really are soft. It's a very nice texture. So this is my favorite. Just wanted to start off. You could see how the different colors worked. So that's the one I'm going to use on this project. Now this is going to be for a mug rug. So the dimensions are finished size. Generally, I was aiming for 6x9, but I'm going to add a little extra. So it will be 7x10. So I want to leave a 1/2 inch of white all the way around. Now I can start laying out the pieces. Let me show you what else I've cut. So this is a piece of white flannel. Oh, let me explain too. This piece of art is cut to 9 inches by 6 inches. So 9 inches wide because the art is 5x7. So I cut it a little bit larger, but what I need to do, the finished size, so this fabric, the flannel, is 10 inches by 7 inches. Okay, so that's going to be the finished size, but the artwork, because it was 7 inches by 5 inches, which is the size of the plate itself, that limited to my dimensions on the art, but that's okay. It's what I'm starting with. Okay, so I'm aligning this top corner because the backing fabric will wrap around that. I also went through my scraps and I found this piece, which was, I don't know, it's a thicker cotton, I believe. So I want it to be, okay, so the marking on here, the 1/2 inch outside, the backing is going to cover it. So anything beyond that is not going to be seen. So I want a little bit of the dark blue in there. The background is going to be this batik fabric. So that's what's going to go on the back. But I also wanted a piece. So picture this batik fabric, not that one, but the backing will come up to the bottom. So I have this gap. Now here's a trick you can do when you have art that is a limited size. So I have this area that needs art, this whole area. And I'm putting this strip across here somewhere. So what I can do, okay, I'm just marking an area right there. I'm going to do a little trick. Okay, let me show you what that just did. Okay, so there's the background. There's the top right corner. And now I'm going to put this down in the bottom corner. So now I have a gap there. So I have this piece, it's a little narrow. What I could do is that I kind of don't want to make this too much larger because I'm going to have this also, the same fabric will be in the edge. So let me take a look and see what other fabric I have that could do it. Okay, so I'm going to try using this blue-green color. I cut a strip. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm thinking something like that for the right-hand side. So I've stretched the background fabric by cutting it, added a horizontal interest to it. Now I have my upholstery fabric, which again is short. So I'm trying to make do, knowing that down here will be covered. I could pull it up a little bit to get some more vertical because this is cut off. Don't have enough there, that's okay. Want a little bit of the dark green, dark aqua showing here. Now after that, I want to add some of this ribbon. So I just cut another piece of this off. Going to add this ribbon. Now I also have a piece of floral pattern that I want to add here. Something like that. And I wanted to repeat some of the pink. So I recently thrifted, well, it was part of a freebie pack, this pre-printed embroidery pattern. I want to add a piece. It's a nice pink, so I'm just going to cut a piece. I'm kind of debating on this blue up here. Okay, I'm going to use a piece of this. It'll be very pale, but it will repeat that pattern, and that's what I want. Okay. I attach the flower onto some Wonder Under fusible web. It is going to be stitched down onto fabric. I wanted it to be something where the edges won't necessarily fray. Lots of fussy cutting, but it needed to be really tight fussy cutting. So that. had stitched down very loosely these pieces, so I'm going to iron this down, and I cut a piece of fabric that is 12 inches wide by 9 inches tall, and it is the same background or the same fabric that I used on this strip, so it's going to be the background fabric. So I have that ready to go, and I have all the little pieces tacked down. I think I'm going to attach the flower first, and when you're working with Wonder Under, there is a backing on it, so you want to peel it, and it looks just like parchment paper. And when you come to some narrow areas, you do want to be a little more careful. Okay. So, and I'm going to have it, because this area is going to be covered, I can either place it so it's just slightly under that. Let me get my iron out and I will attach it down. The other thing I'm going to do too is on this 12 by 9 piece. So I'm just doing a 1/2 inch fold. So I was feeling this piece, it needed some more thickness. So I cut a piece of felt to use as the backing or padding. What I can do now also is trim off any of these pieces that are overlapping. So now I have the piece pretty much held together. I can go ahead and start slow stitching. I'm doing a running stitch, and I've done a couple rows here, and now I'm going to go up and down on this blue part. Right now I'm doing some again, cantha stitching, which is more of a technique rather than a stitch itself. And I'm using this Baroque, vintage Baroque crochet cotton. It just is a nice weight so that it is very visible. And it was super inexpensive, so I don't mind using a ton of it for my stitching. I finished my cantha stitches over here. I didn't do anything in the white. I might do it in a contrasting color, not sure yet. But I was going to stitch down the ribbon. So I have a floss, 3 strands, that is very similar in color to the ribbon. So I'm going to do just some stitching around the edges just to hold it in place. I thought about adding some like lace or tulle to give it some texture, but I'm thinking of more of the practicality that it's going to be holding food and drink kind of thing, a cup of tea and a biscuit or something. So I'm going to keep it simple. I don't need a lot of texture on this. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to start working on the flower, and I'm not going to do a lot of stitches. It's not going to be like I'm needle painting the piece, but I have 3 shades of this dusty rose color, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to start with the darkest. When you work with pearl cotton, you really do need to keep it short. and I'm just going to keep stitching that. I finished stitching the flower, and I just did some basic stitches and then stitched around the edge a little bit to hold everything down. Okay, so I have the flower and the leaves stitched down. I am going to now do some canvas stitching in here because this big white area is so bright. And I'm using 6 strands of embroidery floss. And now I just have this little piece of pink. But this is where I'm going to do something a little fun. This is a Mother's Day mud rug. So what I'm going to do, besides having this little pink piece up here, is, okay, piece of fabric with some printing on the selvage. But I have enough letters to spell out the word mom, and I might do it okay. Let me plan ahead a little bit here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a straight edge here. So what I'm going to do is, okay, I'm trying to cut these as straight as possible. But I like those 2 little dots at the end. So I'm going to do 2 little dots at the beginning, there. And save some of those letters, you never know. So what I'm going to do is, got out my Yoo-hoo. This is just to hold it in place, because I'm going to have to stitch it down, of course. Oh, and of course I'm not on camera. Sorry. So the Yoo-hoo glue stick, it's a washable glue stick, and it just holds everything temporarily in place. I'm going to stitch that down with thread. I could do an invisible stitch, but it's so tiny anyway. Okay, so that is done. I just need to attach it now. And because the edge will come to here, the outside binding, I need to tuck it up a little bit so it'll get caught in that seam binding or the edge binding. And I'll finish off this little piece, and then I could put the backing on. So everything on the front is done. The only thing I have left is the backing. And so what I did was I cut this backing at 12 inches wide by 9 inches tall. This is going to sit. Now I ironed down all the edges. You want to iron down at least at the 1/2 inch mark. So what it's going to do, so this is a 1/2 inch that's folded, ironed over. You roll it once, and then you roll it the second time and you stitch that down. So let me go ahead and pin that. Now this is where you might find a little bit of fit issues. So if you're not covering enough somewhere, you definitely want to pin it and see. Sort of like here, I'm not going to have enough fabric, so I could cut a little bit off of this end, which I think I'll do right now. Let me see how that works. Now this is where all the fitting comes in. Okay, so you may have to readjust on the left and right side as well. But for right now, this area is looking pretty good. So now let's see how the top and bottom are going to look. Yeah. I might need to cut a little off the bottom and a little bit off the top. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll see how this fits. So I have the center in there. I trimmed a little bit off the artwork, a little bit off the top and bottom, and now I have the sides turned in and pinned. Okay, so now you have the top and bottom. So what you do is you fold in to make a nice 90-degree corner. So this edge here lines up with the bottom of the art or the fabric. Okay, now I'm just going to pin it, and then I'm going to do the same thing here, so I have it all rolled like I need it, and I'm going to pin it there. Okay, so you have two 45-degree angles here, and then when you go to do the bottom part, you fold it in and you roll it up. And now with that corner turned in, should have a nice clean corner there and here. And then I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. So now I'm just going to stitch it down. I'm going to see if I have a teal colored thread and do it with thread. I decided what I'm going to do is little invisible stitching. So it's all finished now. I have the invisible stitching to hold down the edges. This is the back side. So there's no stitching on this side at all. But this is a finished piece. I love adding that. But it's a Mother's Day mug rug. And the definition of a mug rug is that it's a cross between a placemat and a coaster. So it's a little bit bigger. You could set down a teacup and a muffin or a cookie or something. This was so much fun because it also started with the gel printing on the cotton fabric with the piece of lace. Everything, all the fabric on here is thrifted, except for the paint, if you want to count that. But everything else. So this is my Mother's Day mug rug, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment to let me know what you think of this. I love hearing from everybody. So make this as a fun gift for your mother or anyone who's like your mother, grandmother, aunt, You could put their name there if you want, if you have the collect the letters to do that. And it just makes such a nice meaningful piece. You know, the only thing, if there's a spill on it, you have to wash it. I'd hand wash it in cold water and make sure you dry it really well. So check out LyndaCreates.com for more inspiration for textile arts and paper crafting. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!